Hello and welcome to episode number 18 of the Reinvent Your Reality Podcast. My name is Jen Palko. So happy you could join me here today. Happy autumn. It's been a little bit, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. This is probably my favorite time of the year. Unfortunately, it's shorter and shorter each year, but it's a beautiful time of year. The weather is finally seasonable, and it's nice to be with you here today on this nice fall day. And fall to me I like it because it's all about transition. It's about, the leaves fall from the trees, and it's about letting go of certain things in your life before we get to winter, which is our hibernation or germination stage. So it has a lot of qualities to it that I think can reflect our own lives and, how we're going about our own lives and what we need to let go of in order to focus on ourselves and turn inward a little bit more in the colder months so that we can kind of pop out again in spring and flourish, basically. So the more we adapt to the seasons, the better off we are and the healthier we are and the more balanced we are. So today we have a juicy podcast. I mean, they're all juicy in my eyes, but this is a good one, wealth of information. And let me just first start off by asking you a very important question. Have you ever driven your car accidentally with the emergency brake on? Have you ever driven your car with the emergency brake on accidentally? Now, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I sure have, and a lot of probably people have and can relate to this. And what does it feel like? So when you drive with the e-brake on in your car, you don't necessarily notice it at first, but you do notice like your car is like a little off. It's driving a little more rough, like something's not right, but you may not pick up on it right away, right? It's like a little bit of tension, but you can still drive the car. Over time, if you leave it on, you're going to burn your brakes out and, your car is going to run into a lot of trouble. But I wanted to use this analogy because I love using analogies for what we do in our life. We basically, so our body is the car. Our body is the car. And we live life with the e-brake on. Now, you might be saying, well, Jen, really? I don't think so. No. I don't think I do, but you do. Most of us live life with an emergency brake on. Now, let me explain this. So, a lot of us live life, and I'm including myself in this, okay? Us. I like us to all be a big fat family here, okay? So, a lot of us live life with an emergency brake on. What that means is that we live life not completely free, even though we think we're free. We think we are just flowing through life. We always have this little bit of tension that we might not pick up on. We might be on an unconscious level, but it's always like this little bit of stress we put on ourselves. Why? Because we try to control a lot of times. We try to control outcomes, and we all know that we put ourselves through hell a lot of times. We put ourselves through stress, but it's this constant having this little bit of tension that builds up over time, and you may not notice it, but a lot of us are walking or driving through life thinking that the brake is completely off when it's on, so things may not go as smoothly as we anticipate. So, our body is the car, and we always have a little bit of tension on the car. Why? Because we try to force our way through. It's just our natural way of being. Often we have a lot of fears, we have a lot of patterns ingrained within us, where basically we are computers and energetic beings at the same time. We are. So what happens is we have all kinds of software and hardware that is implanted in us as we go about this thing called life and experience, and it creates patterns, it creates cycles. Now, we each have an individual blueprint or imprint. We're all very, very different, yet we're the same, because a lot of us put this same little bit of tension on our life where we can't be completely free. We can't just freely is what I'm trying to say. I don't know what freely means, but freely go about life. But let me ask you this. What if you eased off the brakes? What if you double checked your life right now and you said, oh yeah, I am holding on to something. Like I am attaching to something. You know, this is good for autumn. Like I said, it's about letting go of those leaves. You know, if the trees didn't let go of the leaves, we wouldn't have the seasons. Like things would be all messed up. I mean, things are messed up anyway, but they'd be more messed up than they are. So what if you ask yourself, okay, what am I still holding on to? What is this little bit of tension? What am I still trying to control in my life? And I'm seeing it come out time and time again, I think is how it's said, as patterns in my life. Like I never feel truly free. And I'm always hitting like the same obstacles or the same kind of walls, even though they may look different. They may be different circumstances and stuff like that. But they're kind of like similar, and I'm noticing like a pattern over every couple years or couple months or whatever it is. So we pick up patterns throughout our lives, and we try to control and force ourselves to make changes. And a lot of times what happens is we make changes. We really force ourselves to make changes, and then we scurry back scared. We're in shock, we freak out, and we want to put things right back where they were, or at least in our head we do. So why is it so hard to change? You know, often the fear of anticipating an event is much, much worse than the reality itself. So fear and worry, we are masters of all these things. Our fears, they put pressure on us, right? And these are all ingrained patterns in us. So, yeah, it's like having the e-brake on while we're driving through life. So we have a lot of fears. I'll list them here. Just some of them. Fear of change, fear of starting over, fear of aging, fear of getting fat, fear of being alone, fear of losing money, fear of commitment, and a million other fears. We're not in the present moment, right? We're either living, projecting the future, or we're living in our past. So what our brain does from a young age, it's forming these patterns, these imprints. It's taking these experiences and it's collecting all this data, all this information. And all this data is being stored, but on a subconscious level. So when we have tendencies, we each are, like I said, we have a specific blueprint. We're all very different. We're all very unique. We all have our own tendencies of how we react and how we behave to the world. And this is where suffering comes in. So all human suffering is a result of our own reaction to things. So you ever wonder why some people are so damn happy and some people aren't? It doesn't matter what you have, because you'll notice as you go through this thing called life that the more you accumulate and the richer you become and the more stuff you have and the more friends you have and attention you have, that it doesn't really matter because you can still be unhappy. And this is what I'm going to get into also in this podcast, is about misalignment. Misalignment in life versus just fear, regular fears. So the ancient Chinese, because I have to bring them in to this podcast always, there are precursors to disease and things that cause disease in the body. Okay, a lot of it is overwork, excessive this, excessive emotions, excessive sex, excessive blah, 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 excessive, blah, 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 repressing emotions, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, all kinds of stuff. But one of the big things that causes disease in the body is a human being not living up to their Ming, M-I-N-G. So Ming is a term that is basically our contract with heaven. Now, whatever you believe, whether you're religious, spiritual or not, this is what ancient Chinese medicine called the Ming, our contract with heaven. So each of us has a Ming, or a purpose for being here, or a potential to fulfill in our lives. So when somebody lives their life completely out of alignment to their Ming, their contract with heaven, completely out of alignment basically to themselves, that's what it is, out of alignment to yourself, then disease can start in the body. Why? Because we always have this little bit of tension. There's always some kind of e-brake on. Because if you were in complete alignment, then you would have no trouble easing completely off those brakes. it would just feel easy. So a lot of us doesn't feel easy because we've always got this little bit of tension on. We're not sure which way to go. We're indecisive and stuff like that. So basically, you're standing in front of a mirror and you're projecting your own reality out of fear, out of the little hiccups in your life, the patterns and stuff like that, okay? So what you see in the mirror is what you get. We're usually we're attracted to things on a repeated cycle. You'll notice that. If you don't believe me, start paying attention. And we each have our own individual time frame or cycles of patterns that tend to repeat themselves in our lives, these tendencies that come out, whether we hit kind of the same roadblocks or we never find that we can quite get where we want to go or make the money that we want to make, or we keep finding that we're failing in our careers or relationships, stuff like that. These are all patterns. So you have to take a look. So it's on an individual basis, but it's also on like a lunar cycle, the sun cycle. We're part of this thing called a universe, right? So it's all the same. Let's see here. So number one, recognize your patterns. Okay. Things repeat, individual cycles, universal cycles. Stop viewing the patterns as punishment once you recognize them. So you could call this karmic too. So I'm currently reading a book about karma, and it's very interesting, and I'm sure I'll do more content on it once I finish it. But it's not about punishment. There's nobody sitting up in the sky that's like, all right, you didn't fulfill your destiny, so, I'm going to punish you now. No, it's more about transcendence, and it's coming from a place of getting to a place of inner peace, and it's about growth. It's not about punishment. It's about transcendence and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. So like I said, often our human suffering, it's perception of our life situation. So it's our reaction to the world, our relationship to the world. Another thing is talking about fall, because I love fall, is, the more we live out of alignment to Mother Nature and the seasons too. So you ever see those people, I'm sure you have, I saw one this morning. It's like 32 degrees out and they're out in like shorts running. And I'm just like, man, that's not seasonable. I mean, the weather's been up and down, I'll give her that. But you have to kind of adapt with the seasons, and your body doesn't want to be shocked from like, your bare legs out in the cold. So it's adaptability, not only with nature, but just our emotions and how we're just responding and reacting to things. So, yeah. So let's see here. So the key is to become aware and not walk blindly in your life, like you're just a victim of your circumstances. Okay. So it's about taking control of that steering wheel when you're driving, but it's also about easing off the brakes. Ease off. Put that e-brake off. So a lot of people think, okay, I need to take control of my life. They think the word control. And what that is, or what that means to them, is to take control of the wheel and stiffen up and really try to control the outcome of every situation. No, it's not about that. It's about inner peace. It's about compassion. It's about freeing yourself. It's about easing off that brake in your life, letting life guide you, but being aware of where you're going at the same time. So it can be complex because there's a lot going on here. It's a hard concept to be like, well, to let go, but to still be in control of my life. We think control means squeezing the crap out of our life, forcing our way through life. It's not about forcing. It's about paying attention to what's in alignment to you. It's about paying attention to yourself, paying attention to those patterns that have come up in your life and asking yourself, why does this keep coming up? Why do I feel like I can't get anywhere? Why can I not do this? It feels like tension in the body. That is you keeping your grip on life, the control. So it's about easing off, but still being at that steering wheel. It's not being a victim of circumstance, but it's about you having a relationship with the world around you, because we're all part of the same thing, right? So that's all I got to say about that. let's see. We talked about ancient medicine, all that stuff. So some signs of misalignment. Okay. If you're not sure, if you're like, well, I don't know if I'm misaligned, or if it's just fear or whatever, because we've been so ingrained, in society and things like that. So some symptoms of misalignment can feel like fatigue. If something completely drains you, no motivation, if you feel like you have to really will yourself to do something, like it's not coming from just your physical energy, it's coming from more than that, like your backup battery, where you really are like depleting yourself to do this thing or to go in this direction or to date this person. That's not a good sign. Physical ailments popping up, more and more physical ailments. Start to question, okay, why? Maybe it's not in alignment to me. You can actually feel your spirit get upset when you don't listen to it, when you don't follow it. And by spirit, I mean you. If you take off all your layers, who are you deep down inside? When you take those off and your body or your spirit, whatever, you are trying to tell you or give you advice, and you don't listen to it. You're like, well, I really want to, but there's other, and you go the other way and you force yourself and you will yourself, and it feels really hard. It feels like you're driving with the e-brake completely on. Yeah, that. Another sign, misalignment, seeking distractions all the time or seeking things to numb yourself out. Okay, those are big clues. Like, okay, why do you want to numb yourself out? Why do you feel like you need something else to fulfill you? What are you not getting out of the majority of your life? Okay? So you should be in alignment. And I know we need to work, we need to make money and stuff like that, but the more we can pay attention to what we're really calling for and asking for, the happier we can be, okay? The more we can prevent disease in our body, prevent aging, the aging process. I mean, you can't prevent it completely, obviously. This is the thing. And this could be a whole I have talked about this before, but this anti-aging, it's like, why are we so scared of that's another fear, the fear of getting older. Fear of death. Death is it's another cycle. It's a life cycle, right? It can be a beautiful thing, but it is our reaction, our relationship to it, how we respond to it. We've been taught that death is terrible, it's evil, it's decrepit. It doesn't have to be, though. So switch your mind a little bit, the perception. Okay? Anyway, there's a Taoist fable called A Raven and a Rabbit. I'll read it to you. It's very short. A raven landed on a high branch and rested. A rabbit saw him. He asked, "Can I be like you, doing nothing, just resting?" "Of course you can." The rabbit sat under the shade of the tree, resting and doing nothing. Suddenly a fox appeared, caught him by surprise, and ate him. The end. That's your fable for today. So, all fables have a little meaning behind them. So what is the meaning behind that? The meaning behind that is to be you, to be your own person, to stop letting other people drive the car for you, and you taking control of that steering wheel, but also easing off those brakes, okay? So taking control of your life, creating your own life, doesn't mean constantly having the e-brake on, okay? Okay? All right, difference between fear and misalignment. Just a couple things I jotted down here. Fear is followed by self-regret for not doing something usually. Misalignment only has repercussions from other people, but doesn't necessarily make you regret it. It instead can make you feel relieved. Okay? So just regular fear, anxiety in the body, the physiological thing that you get because, you're scared of public speaking, you're scared of trying new things, a whole list of fears, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that that's not in alignment to you. It's just, it's hard to differentiate the two, but just pay attention to if you have a lot of regret if you don't do something. If you say, oh, I should have done that. Okay. Why do you feel that way? Versus if something makes you feel relieved that you don't do it. Obviously it wasn't for you, because it's like, it's not just the relief, like, oh, I don't have to public speak or whatever. It's a different kind of relief, right? It's a different kind of relief. One that's like, I don't know, something like soul level or something. Number 2, what you want sparks your heart. Okay. Even though you may feel paralyzed in your mind, so you don't take action. But misalignment feels bad in both the mind and the heart, usually. Okay. And a lot of times we try to talk ourselves into stuff and rationalize things. And eventually we come around and be like, yeah, that's a good idea. You know it. Okay. That's that initial thing you felt like, did I really want it? You know, sometimes fear feels just like something isn't aligned, but you really have to dig a little deeper and your reason for not taking action. Here's a good one. Play out the end result in your head. Okay. If someone took all the fear out of you, somebody just ripped it out of you, no fear, would you still do it? Would it still be a good idea to you? Okay. Another thing, where did the initial interest in doing this particular thing stem from? Was it your own inspiration, intuition, or somebody else's? Perhaps societal pressure, parents, friends, all kinds of stuff. Okay. There's a good saying, stand in the light of your own truth. I love that. Let's see. So, split other people and yourself in half in this scenario. And, if other people's expectations didn't exist in this scenario, would you still want to do it? And my favorite question to ask yourself, if you won the lottery today, would you still go for it? This is like one of those questions is just like, I ask myself a lot, because this simple question can get to the root of a lot of the stuff. It can weed out a lot of stuff that you don't want in your life. So if you won the lottery right now, you won the jackpot, what would you do with that? The thing that you were trying to convince yourself of and rationalize and all that stuff in your brain, would you still do it? Or would you be like, F that, screw that, no way, man? Because if it's in alignment to you, you're still going to do it, whether it's work or whether it's this, that, just my 2 cents. So, digging deep, looking past your ego into what makes you you. What sparks your soul, per se? What kind of things light you up besides external attention, validation on Facebook, external interactions, all that stuff's ego, right? Laughter. What makes you laugh? What gives you energy? Right? What gives you not just physical energy, because, you could be in a line to something and still be physically tired, in my opinion. That's just your body being tired, okay? But if it's still lighting you up on the inside, like you feel good, yet the outer body, the shell, the car feels kind of tired, like that's different, okay? You know what I mean? So who are you? Are you a caretaker? Are you a performer at heart? What are your innate talents and abilities? Right? What does your blueprint say? Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up today. Most of us are driving around with some sort of brakes on. We're trying to force ourselves through a little bit, and we're putting constant tension on our bodies and on our minds. So it's not just the physical, but it's also the overthinking, the worry, all trying to project outcomes. But you are projecting your own outcome by how you're feeling inside. You are standing in front of that mirror, like I said. So whatever's on the other side of that mirror, you can change it. You have control of that. But it's not a control where your grip is so attached to it. It's about lowering the importance on whatever it is that you want in your life and working with the universe around you, working with nature around you, working with other people around you. It's not about controlling the outcome. The more you control, the less it's going to work in your favor, because you're giving it so much significance. You're putting it on a pedestal. You're putting so much energy and attention into something that you're basically, you're saying you don't have it, or, you could talk about law of attraction and all that stuff as well, but you're coming from a point of like desperation. Like, I need to control my life in this aspect or else. No, you can ease off what if you eased off the brakes? What would happen? Just because all your life you've tried to control situations and scenarios, and you try to like force your way through, and you always have those brakes on a little bit, your car is getting tired. You are getting tired. The car is going to break down mechanically. The brakes aren't going to work anymore. What if you eased off? What would happen? Try it. Try to ease off a little bit in your life. I have found that the more you ease off, the more you listen. I don't know if I said this already. If not, it's worth repeating. The more you ease off, the more you actually listen to yourself, listen to your spirit, listen to whatever your body wants, the more the universe rewards you in some way. It's a weird thing. Try it. Like, the more you learn to be grateful and appreciate stuff in your life, the more you are rewarded. Now, I'm not going to tell you you're rewarded through money or whatever it is, but it's going to be something, I guarantee. I promise you, it's going to be something, because you are standing in front of that mirror and your reality is the reflection. Okay? It's your relationship to the world around you. So, anyway, thanks for listening on this autumn day. It's about letting go. It's about transitioning with the seasons. It's about transcendence. It's about getting to a place of compassion and inner peace, but also sitting in that driver's seat. Okay. So both, you can do it. So thank you for listening so much. If you want to check out more of my stuff, go to my website, www.jenpalko.com. Pick up a copy of my book, 12-Step Guide for the Self-Help Book Addict, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, a bunch of other sites. It's even on Walmart, whatever.com. Not that matters. And give this podcast a rating, share it with your friends if you enjoyed it, please. I really appreciate it. I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/JenPalko, that you could check out. There's over 400 videos on there for your viewing pleasure. And other than that, have a great day. Peace out. And until next time.